The crimson dust of Myra 9 swirled around Kira Novik's combat boots, each step a testament to her exhaustion. Her tactical armor, once a pristine slate gray, now bore the scars of countless battles, carbon scoring, deep scratches, and patches hastily repaired in the field. The frontier planet's twin suns cast long shadows across the devastated landscape, a graveyard of broken machinery and scattered wreckage. Kira checked her pulse rifle, only 17% charge remaining, not that it mattered much anymore. The 73rd Expeditionary Division had been reduced to a mere handful of survivors, scattered like embers across the scorched terrain. She'd lost count of how many standard cycles they'd been fighting, how many friends had fallen. A distant rumble caught her attention. Not artillery, not another bombardment, something different. Her communication implant crackled to life, a sound she'd almost forgotten. Most communication networks had been destroyed weeks ago during the Valkyrie offensive. The voice that emerged was unlike any she'd heard before, low, melodic, with an unusual harmonic resonance. The survivor detected, coordinates locked, do not move. Kira's muscles tensed. Her training screamed at her to run, to find cover, to never stand still in an active combat zone. But something in the voice, a strange mix of scientific precision and unexpected gentleness, made her pause. A shimmer in the air, not a weapon discharge, but something else. A technology far beyond standard human or known alien military equipment. A figure materialized approximately 30 meters from her position. Zoran Vale stood out immediately, even amid the chaos of the battlefield. Tall nearly 2.5 meters, with skin the color of pale seafoam and eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. He wore what appeared to be a scientific survival suit, its material shifting colors like a living camouflage. Unlike the brutal warriors Kira had encountered, he moved with a surgeon's precision, each step calculated and purposeful. "Oh, you're injured," he stated, "not a question." Kira laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that surprised even herself. "Aren't we all?" Her left leg was indeed bleeding, a plasma burn she'd been ignoring for what felt like cycles. Her bioregenerative field dressing had long since exhausted its capabilities. Zoran approached, raising both hands slowly, a universal gesture of non-aggression that transcended species and conflicts. In his right hand, he carried what looked like a medical scanner. In his left, a device she couldn't immediately identify. "I am Zoran Vale, xenobiological preservation specialist with the harmonic concordance," he introduced himself. "Your survival probability is currently calculated at 17.32%. "Nice to meet you too," Kira muttered, her sarcasm a defense mechanism honed through years of warfare. What followed was not a typical battlefield encounter. Instead of weapons, Zoran produced medical tools. Instead of threats, he offered assistance. And instead of the cold calculation she expected from an alien scientist, he displayed a curious blend of clinical precision and genuine concern. As he began treating her wounds, Kira studied him. The harmonic concordance was legendary, a scientific coalition known more for exploration and research than military engagement. Their involvement in this conflict was unprecedented. "Why are you here?" she asked, wincing as a regenerative nanogel sealed her plasma burn. Zoran's galaxy eyes flickered, a movement that might have been considered a blink in human physiology. Some battles are fought not with weapons, but with understanding. Little did Kira know that this moment, this unexpected intersection of her desperate survival and his mysterious mission, would change everything. The twin suns of Myra 9 continued their relentless arc across the sky, indifferent to the complex drama unfolding amidst the planetary ruins. The refugee settlement sprawled across the rocky plains of Nexus 7, a temporary haven carved out of desperation and human resilience. Prefabricated shelters lined in precise geometric patterns stood as a stark contrast to the wild, untamed landscape beyond. Here, survivors from a dozen different planetary conflicts found themselves bound together by loss and hope. Kira Novik moved between the shelters, her gait still carrying the muscle memory of a soldier, even weeks after being extracted from Myra 9. The medical bay where she'd been treated was different from any military facility she'd known. Gone were the harsh white lights and sterile corridors. Instead, soft bioluminescent panels cast a gentle blue-green glow, and the air carried a subtle fragrance that reminded her of distant memories, rain on forest floors, perhaps. Zoran Vale worked nearby, his long fingers dancing across a holographic interface. The medical research station hummed with a quiet intensity that spoke of complex calculations and deeper purposes. Since their first meeting on Myra 9, something had shifted between them, a connection that defied the traditional boundaries of species, of war, of expectation. Your neurological scans are interesting, Zoran said, not looking up from his work. The translator embedded in his communication device rendered his words with a precision that captured both scientific detachment and underlying curiosity. Kira raised an eyebrow, interesting how. He turned, those galaxy eyes focusing on her with an intensity that made her momentarily uncomfortable. Trauma responses in human neurological systems are remarkably complex. Your brain has developed multiple adaptive mechanisms that our current xenopsychological models struggle to fully comprehend. It was as close to a compliment as Zoran seemed capable of giving. Their relationship had begun as something entirely practical. She was a survivor who needed medical intervention. He was a scientist dedicated to understanding survival mechanisms across different species. But something had changed in the weeks since their initial encounter. Kira found herself drawn to the quiet intensity of Zoran's work. He didn't see her as a soldier or a victim or even primarily as a human. To him, she was a complex system of biological and psychological responses, worthy of study but also of genuine respect. I've been reviewing the incident reports from Myra 9, Zoran continued, bringing up a holographic reconstruction of the battlefield. The probability of your survival was mathematically improbable. She chuckled, is that your way of saying I'm lucky? Luck is a human construct that fails to account for the intricate variables of survival, he responded. But there was a subtle softening in his tone that suggested something beyond pure scientific observation. The refugee settlement buzzed with its own unique energy. Survivors from different conflicts, different worlds, found themselves creating a temporary community. Kira had initially been suspicious. Her military training had taught her to be wary, to maintain distance. But here, surrounded by others who had lost everything, something was changing. Zoran approached her with a data tablet. I've been analyzing the psychological adaptation mechanisms of survivors from multiple planetary conflicts. Your case presents several unique variables. It was his way of showing concern, of connecting. A distant alarm broke the moment. Red warning lights began to pulse, cutting through the settlement's calm blue-green ambience. Zoran's communication implant chirped with an urgent transmission. Incoming threat detected. Possible reconnaissance force approaching from the northern quadrant. Kira's body responded before her conscious mind could process the information. Muscle memory from years of combat kicked in. Her hands, too, precisely too, moved with practiced efficiency, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Zoran watched her transformation with scientific fascination and something else. Something that went beyond observation. Something that felt remarkably like concern, like connection. We're not soldiers here, he said softly, but we're not defenseless either. As the first distant explosions began to echo across the settlement's perimeter, Kira realized that survival was about more than just fighting. It was about understanding, about connection, about hope. The underground resistance base carved into the crystalline mountains of Quantum Ridge was unlike any military installation Kira had ever seen. Bioluminescent fungi lined the tunnels, casting a soft, ever-changing light that seemed to breathe with the mountain's own rhythm. Holographic interfaces flickered between natural rock formations, technology and nature merging in a delicate dance. Zoran Vale stood at the central planning table, his pale seafoam skin almost luminescent in the subdued light. Surrounding him were resistance leaders from multiple species, humans, crystalline beings from the Andromeda Cluster, energy-based life forms from the quantum planes of Nexus Prime. The current conflict is not about territory, Zoran was explaining, his voice carrying that unique harmonic resonance that made complex ideas sound almost like music. It's about systemic control of quantum communication networks. Kira listened, her military background wrestling with the more nuanced approach of the harmonic concordance. Where she once saw clear battle lines, Zoran revealed intricate webs of communication, resource allocation, and cultural preservation. Their mission was critical. A breakthrough in quantum communication could potentially end the prolonged conflict that had decimated multiple star systems. But it was more than just a strategic objective. For Kira, it had become personal. During a rare moment of quiet, she approached Zoran as he recalibrated a quantum communication modulator. "How did you end up here?" she asked. It was a question that had been burning in her mind since their first encounter on Myra 9. Zoran's galaxy eyes flickered, the closest thing to a smile she'd seen from him. "Preservation," he said simply, "not just of life but of potential, of possibility." The resistance base was a testament to that philosophy. Survivors from countless worlds, each bringing fragments of knowledge, of culture, of hope. Kira had discovered she was more than just a soldier here. She was a bridge, a connector of possibilities. Their current objective was audacious. A direct intervention into the primary quantum communication hub that controlled most of the conflict's strategic networks. It would require precision, technology far beyond conventional warfare, and a level of cooperation that seemed impossible just months ago. As night fell, or what passed for night in this underground sanctuary, Kira found Zoran in the research wing. Holographic star maps danced around him, showing complex network interactions that looked more like living organisms than communication systems. "We're more alike than different," Zoran said, not looking up from his work. "Biological systems, communication networks, they're all about connection, about finding paths through complexity." It was as close to a personal revelation as he'd ever shared. The mission would begin at dawn, or what passed for dawn in these crystalline mountains. Their team was small, deliberately so, precision over brute force, understanding over destruction. Ikera checked her equipment, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 1 purpose. As the bioluminescent fungi pulsed softly around them, something had changed. This was no longer just a mission of survival. It was a mission of hope. Of transformation. Of connection. The quantum communication hub hung like a massive metallic jellyfish against the backdrop of a dying star system. Fractured planetary rings created a treacherous obstacle course, remnants of worlds destroyed by centuries of conflict. Their infiltration vessel, a hybrid craft that was part scientific research module, part stealth ship, moved with calculated precision. Kira's hands moved across the navigation controls with a fluidity that surprised even herself. Months of working alongside Zoran had transformed her from a traditional soldier into something more, a hybrid of military precision and scientific adaptability. "Quantum interference is increasing," Zoran announced, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe and pulse with living information. "We have approximately 17 standard minutes before the defensive systems will detect our approach." Their mission was surgical, precise. Unlike the wars Kira had fought before, this was not about destruction, but about recalibration, about finding a way to interrupt the communication networks that perpetuated endless conflict. The ship shuddered, not from external damage, but from the quantum fields surrounding the communication hub. It was alive in a way that defied traditional understanding of technology and consciousness. Preparing quantum destabilization sequence, Zoran said, his voice carrying that unique harmonic resonance that always made Kira feel like she was hearing multiple layers of communication simultaneously. Their plan was elegant in its complexity, not a direct attack but a careful intervention. Like a surgeon redirecting the flow of blood, they would alter the fundamental communication pathways that sustain the ongoing conflict. Suddenly, alarms erupted across the ship systems. Red warning lights pulsed, casting harsh shadows across their faces. "We've been detected," Kira said, her voice calm, not a question, a statement. Zoran's galaxy eyes flickered, his version of a concerned expression. "Correction, we allowed ourselves to be detected. Partial detection was part of the strategic approach." The next moments were a dance of impossible complexity. Quantum shields flickered. Communication pathways twisted and reformed like living organisms. Their small ship, more a research vessel than a traditional combat craft, navigated through impossible geometries. Kira's two hands moved with practiced efficiency. Two eyes tracked multiple holographic displays. Her body, once just a weapon of war, was now an instrument of precision and hope. "A quantum destabilization in 3 cycles," Zoran announced. The communication hub began to transform, not destroy, not obliterate, but fundamentally alter. Imagine a complex neural network suddenly finding new pathways of communication, of understanding. A massive energy surge erupted around them, not destructive, transformative. "Connection established," Zoran said, his voice carrying a note of something Kira had never heard before. Triumph, wonder, something between scientific achievement and something more profound. Outside, the fractured planetary rings began to realign. Communication networks that had sustained conflict for generations suddenly found new patterns, new possibilities. As the energy subsided, Kira looked at Zoran. Their eyes met, two eyes unique connected. "Oh, we did it," she said simply. Zoran's response was typical of him, part scientific observation, part something deeper. "We disrupted a systemic communication pattern that has sustained conflict for 273 standard years, 4 months and 16 days. But there was something else in his eyes, something that went beyond numbers, beyond calculation. A hope. 3 standard cycles had passed since their quantum network intervention. The landscape of interstellar relations had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The research station orbiting the regeneration world of Lumina Prime was a testament to possibility. Crystalline structures merged with living biotechnology, creating an environment that blurred the lines between constructed and organic. Here, species that had been locked in conflict for generations now worked together, studied together, dreamed together. Kira Novik stood at the primary observation deck, her 2 hands resting against a transparent alloy window. Below, entire ecosystems were being reconstructed, planets healing from centuries of conflict, landscapes finding new balance. Zoran approached, his movements as precise as always, but with something softer beneath the scientific precision. Their relationship had become something neither could have anticipated, a bridge between worlds, between ways of understanding. "Preliminary planetary restoration reports are exceeding projected parameters," he said, presenting a holographic display that danced with intricate data patterns. "The quantum network recalibration has produced unexpected positive cascades in ecological regeneration." Kira smiled, a rare expression that transformed her entire demeanor. Where once she had been purely a soldier, she was now something more. A bridge, a connector of possibilities. We didn't just change a communication network, she responded. We changed how different species understand each other. Their mission had been more than a military intervention. It had been an act of profound reimagining. By disrupting the communication networks that had sustained conflict, they had created space for understanding, for connection. The research station buzzed with a unique energy. Researchers from dozens of different species worked side by side. Crystalline beings from the Andromeda cluster collaborated with energy-based life forms. Biological entities that once saw each other as threats now saw each other as potential. Zoran's galaxy eyes studied Kira. Your neural plasticity continues to fascinate me, he said. It was as close to an expression of affection as he was capable of. Their connection defied traditional understanding, not a romance in the human sense, not a scientific partnership in the traditional sense, something else, something between, a connection that transcended traditional boundaries. We've been invited to the Galactic Reconstruction Summit, Zoran continued. Your perspective as a former military operative, combined with my xenobiological research, has become a critical framework for understanding post-conflict rehabilitation. Kira looked out at the regenerating world below. Entire ecosystems finding new balance. Entire civilizations learning to communicate in ways they never had before. Two hands, two eyes, infinite possibilities. As the twin suns of the system began to set, casting a profound golden blue light across the observation deck, Kira realized something profound. Their mission was never just about stopping a war. It was about creating a new way of understanding. A new horizon of hope.